Friday to you today. I hope your day is going really well and that you're looking forward to a nice weekend. I'm really excited to be back again here with Arden and very happy that you're here with me too. So if you're joining in, please feel free to pop a comment into the chat box. We'll be reading as we go today. Fiona is with us backstage today, and she will be posting some information about the various papers and supplies that I'm going to be demonstrating with today. And I'm really excited because today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different than our usual scrapbooking themes, which is card making. So if you're looking forward to a brand new year, 2026, and maybe thinking of some different kinds of paper crafts you might like to do, then card making may be right up your alley. So for those of you who are brand new to paper crafting, I'm going to have some tips and tricks for you today. If you are someone who does a lot of scrapbooking, maybe mixed media, art journals, that kind of thing, then we will also have some tips and ideas for you as well. Hey there, Barry. Barry's just jumping in. Nice to see you. And one thing that I really like as a scrapbooker, as a crafter, general crafter, as a paper crafter, what I love about card making is that I'm able to use all of my papers, all of my tools, all of my other supplies that I would use for scrapbooking or art journaling on card making. So it's a really nice way of getting some like double duty out of the supplies and tools that you probably have in your stash already. So we're going to talk a little bit about the tools as well, and I'll show you what I'm using. And then we'll get into card making techniques. Hi, Avril. Nice to see you there. So the two cards that I'm going to step us through today are these two. I'm going to try and hold them up so you can see them well. And we're going to be playing with Arden's Laurel Grove collection today for the cards. And of course, many of you have seen these for scrapbooking as well. But of course, you can see how beautifully they go for cards. And with our card making today, I want to go over three kind of guidelines or subjects that come up a lot with card making. And the first is going to be talking about using patterned papers. So for this card, for example, I've got a beautiful patterned paper background. I've also got some patterned paper here in the center. We'll talk about mixing and matching those. And we'll also talk about creating a focal. You can see my focal element here. A focal is a really important thing to have on cards, scrapbook pages, whatever kind of craft you're doing. It's the element that your eye goes to first. And usually on a card, it's the largest element. It may be the brightest colored element, or it may be the element that's right in the center of your card. So you can see I've got my focal piece built up here of lots of smaller components. So that'll be our second thing that we're going to talk about. And the third thing we'll talk about today is coordinating the inside of your card with the outside of your card and how you can do that too and why you might want to do that. So we've got a lot of fun things to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and turn down my camera and we can get into the demo today. Hi, Tracy. Nice to see you. Hi, Susan. Good morning from Wisconsin. Wind chill of what? -41, Susan, my word. Oh, stay warm. I was going to say it's pretty cold here in Hamburg, Germany, where our high today is 0. So I think you have me beat though, Susan. All righty. First and foremost, let's talk about our pattern papers. So I'm going to bring in my two cards here and we can take another look. Let's see, I'll put them together like this. And you can see I'm using pattern papers for my backgrounds. Now, in one case, I'm covering the entire card base with my pattern paper. In this case, I've trimmed down my pattern paper to fit slightly inside the frame of my blank card. So I'll show you both of those processes. And for each of these, I'm using pattern paper for my background, as well as this kind of middle area here too. So when you're picking your pattern papers, of course, a paper pack is always really handy because you know everything is coordinated. And this is the wonderful thing about having a set like this is that you know everything is coordinated to go together color-wise. So here on the front of the cover, and this is the 6x8 Laurel Grove collection, you can see how these have been grouped into pairs, which is a suggestion. You do not have to do these in the pairs that are suggested, but it is a really nice way of knowing what will go together. So for this design, for example, this will go perfectly with the color that's on the other side. And you get 2 sheets of each, which means that you can mix and match these really well. But you can also put this with this, or you can put this with this. So you can start to see these two can go together. These two can go together. Let's see if I can do this properly. Then these two can go together. So you start to see where things can be mixed and matched beyond what the suggestion is on the front cover. Now, in addition to the beautiful pattern papers in this set, you also have a really cool sheet. You've got 2 sheets in the back here with tags as well as these little labels. And these are die cut, so they just punch right out. Now, on one side, you've got all of these different words and sentiments. On the other side, though, they're blank, which means that you can do what you want on those and fill those in as you wish. So this is going to be the foundation of our projects today. And then from here, you can see I've got some embellishments on my card. So I've got some nice frames on here to create my focals. And I've also got words and sentiments and some accents. So these are all coming from 2 different ephemera pack collections. This is just the packaging, but I wanted you to be able to see the names on here. So I've got the Laurel Grove ephemera pack and Laurel Grove PageMakers ephemera pack. And on the back, you can see what is included. So you've got some of those nice frames, big words. You've also got some accent pieces like the butterflies in this case too. So we'll talk about how we can use those to create our focal elements as well. So let's get into our card making. And I'm going to start with this card project here, our delightful. Now, I've covered the front of my card with this pattern paper, and then I've created my focal piece all as one unit. I've got some overlapping elements here. I'm also using some of these enamel dots. And this portion is popped up on foam tape, and that's going to give me a little bit of dimension. That is totally optional, though, so don't feel like you have to use foam tape if you'd just like to glue it down. A couple of tools that I'm going to have on hand. I've got some adhesive. I've got my double-sided tape. I've got a glue stick here and another little tape runner. These are all really good to have on hand. I also am going to need some scissors or a paper trimmer. So if you are sure-handed with the scissors and maybe a ruler, then you don't need the paper trimmer, but the paper trimmer is awfully nice to have as a shortcut. And the pattern papers I'm working with are these 2. I absolutely love this design. When I first opened the package, I thought this is my absolute favorite pattern paper. I think this is just so beautiful. I love all of the different colors in here. You've got some text in the background. It's just beautiful. And then to go along with it, I've decided to use this bird pattern paper. Now, you can use these papers for mixed media. You could use these for scrapbook pages. You could do some art journaling or some regular journaling on here. Lots of different things and lots of different ways that you can use this space here. You can also, from some of these designs where you've got large images on there, you can also use these as a part of your focal. Now, if I decided to use, so I've got this bird image here, to take this element here and simply place it onto the floral pattern paper, I think you can see that they go together beautifully, but it's a little bit, maybe a little bit of a competition between those 2 designs. And this is where our ephemera frame is going to come in to play and help us create our focal. Now, in that ephemera pack, you have a lot of different frames that come in different colors that are all coordinating with our pattern papers. Here's another one of them. You can see that when I pop this down, or even if I put it down this way, you can see how this immediately creates a nice framework around this image, and it helps to also separate between the two patterns. So this is a nice trick to keep in mind when you're combining two pattern papers, is to create either a mat or a frame around the top piece so that you've got some separation, just a bit of visual separation on there. So this is what I'm going to use to create my focal, and I'm going to position it just like this. Now to do this, I know that I'm going to be cutting off a little portion of the foliage here, and that's gonna be okay. So what I'll do first is grab some adhesive. Whatever kind of adhesive you like to have on hand will do the trick here. And I'm just going to add some along the edge. And I think mine is empty. I noticed that my 14-year-old I had to get it out of her room, and I think she's used it all. So I'll go to my glue stick. I've got that on hand as well. Okay, and I'm just going to position this down here. It's going to go a little bit off the edge, which is fine. I'm going to turn this around actually, and just make sure that I'm getting this beautiful bird on here and enough of the foliage. And then simply glue this in place like so. All right. And I'm going to let this glue dry before I trim around the outside edge. In the meantime, what I can do is cover the front of my card with this pattern paper. So with my card base, now there are a couple of different ways that you can form your card. And one of them would be to take this paper and simply fold it in half. You can do that very easily to create your card. What I like to do is start with a plain, either white or off-white card base, and I just buy these in great big packages at my craft store. This happens to measure 4¼ inches across by almost 6 inches tall. Now this technique will of course work for any size of cards, whether they're rectangular, square, it doesn't matter, whatever size you're working with. But what I'm going to do is cover the front with just a portion of this pattern paper. And to do this, I'm going to simply apply my adhesive to the front panel of my card. So my card is folded up. The fold is up here at the top. And I'll just apply my glue all over, but mostly along the edges and the corners, since that's what gets handled the most. And then I'm going to flip this so that I've got my fold of my card aligned evenly with the edge of my patterned paper. And I like to align the fold of the card with the edge of the paper so that I've got at least one straight line. So this is aligned together. And then I'm just going to grab my scissors and trim around the outside edge here so that make sure that adhesive is nicely securing those two papers together. And then I'm just going to trim along the edge here. Now, to cover the front of your card, another option, of course, would be to measure your paper exactly the same size as the front of your card and then try and glue it in place. I don't know that I would be terribly successful with that. It's always tricky to sort of aim something and secure it down in place. So this is the way I like to make sure that I've got my paper perfectly covering the front of my card without having to do any extra measuring. So there I've got this gorgeous design in place. And I've also got the rest of that piece of paper, which I will, of course, put to use on another project. So there we go. I'm ready to go. I'm going to bring back in my focal, and this glue is dry. So again, just grab my scissors and trim around, kind of angling this a little bit so that I make sure that I'm flush with the edge of my frame. Okay, put that to one side, and I've got this little bit here. And there we go. So I've got my card front covered, and then I've got my focal element that I can pop right down on there. So already set to go. Now, one thing I will point out, I'll flip this over. If I wasn't using pattern paper, this would also be really pretty. So you can kind of do as much of this as you want, whatever you have time for or you have the inclination for. Okay, so from here, I can add my embellishments. Now, on the original card, I've got this big, beautiful word. I've got one of the sentiments. This is from the paper pack. I have a butterfly angling off. And I also have this little kind of library tab here. So let's take a look at how to build this. So here's my little tab. I don't have another of the same word, but I've got lots of other words in this collection. And I can do some alternate effects here. Hi, Charlene. Charlene's just joining us from chilly Calgary, Canada, just after 5 a.m. Ooh, good morning to you. Nice of you to join us. So I've got a couple of different alternatives here. Again, with our ephemera pack, you can see all of the different words that you've got on here. So lots of different options to choose from, just depending on who you're giving your card to and what kind of message you want to give. So I'm going to choose this large word here. And I do have another one of these little guys. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down onto the side of my card along the edge. And this will just be kind of peeking out from underneath my focal. I can simply glue my focal in place, but I do really like to use some foam tape for extra dimension. Now I'm going to show you my foam tape. This is what I work with, is my foam tape, but I use this for work almost every day. So you may have a smaller package. And then I'm just cutting off portions of this, and I'm going to add this to the back of my focal piece. And when I do this, I've got strips cut, and I'm just going to align these on my focal. I cut off some strips beforehand so I wouldn't have to deal with that sort of unwieldy wheel of foam tape. And I'm going to do this across the back of this focal so that when I secure this down, I don't have any kind of dips in here. So everything will be level or fairly level. So when I place this down, it's going to be level on my card. Okay, and then take these off. And it's not really super thick foam tape. It's a nice thickness, so that you get some dimension, but it's not really, really bulky. Okay, take this off, and then I'm going to position this right in the center, allowing for this tab to be a part of the focal as well. Okay, so here we go. Got our framed focal on here, this beautiful bird. All of the colors are coordinated, which makes it so easy. Now from here, I can add in my message. And so I've got this really pretty scripty word, and I'm going to position this overlapping, as I've got my other word overlapping on here too. And overlapping elements, this is a really nice way to create a focal as well. So all of my pieces kind of come together as one unit. So I have my moments on here, and again, add a little bit of adhesive, and then overlap this like so. Position that down. And then I've chosen this Sweet Life accent. This is again from the paper pack. You've got lots and lots of different options for that. And of course, they're blank on the other side, which means that you could add your own message on there if you wanted to. And this will get tucked right underneath the S in moments. So again, I've got some nice overlap. Now, to balance corner to corner, I have a butterfly up here in the top corner, and then I've got some enamel dots over here. So I'm going to sort of replicate that, and I'm going to use this little dragonfly embellishment here. So you can start to see from one paper pack, you can do very similar layout ideas, card layout ideas, using different elements between those ephemera sets. And then my enamel dots, these are coordinated, of course, to go along with the colors. And I've got this really pretty burgundy over here. So maybe for this one, let's see, maybe I'll do the green. And I'm adding 3 elements here. And the reason for that is you may have heard the rule of uneven numbers, that this is maybe not a hard and fast rule, but a good guideline to keep in mind when you're adding embellishments to any kind of paper craft, card, scrapbook page. If you work in uneven numbers, it's just visually pleasing to the human eye. So 3, 5, 7, or 1 for that matter. So here we go. We've got 2 very similar versions of the same layout. Again, focusing on those pattern papers, creating a nice, easy focal with a really sweet sentiment on here too. Now for the inside of my card, I've also got some coordinating elements here. Now, you don't have to decorate the inside of your card. You can also decorate your envelope, not absolutely mandatory, but I think it's a really nice way to continue some of the themes and the colors that you have on the front of your card on the inside. It also helps to create a nice place for whatever message you're going to include on the inside there too. And sometimes makes it a little bit easier if you ever have a hard time coming up with an idea or some message for the inside of your card. Sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of help here. So I've got a rub-on, I've got another ephemera element, and then this message here. So for the rub-ons, this is the rub-on transfer set that coordinates with the collection today. So you can see here you've got some nice backgrounds. There's this purple one that I'm using. And you also have some nice elements, larger elements there too. So let me grab, let's see, I'm going to take this beautiful bird here, which of course coordinates with the bird on our card front. I'm just going to pop this open, and I've trimmed this out from my backing sheet. I kept those 2 pieces together, and then to simply position this down. Hi, Thelma. Thanks for joining us today. Oh, the rule, you know the rule of uneven numbers too. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to keep in mind. Thelma is a former art teacher, so probably I'm not telling her anything she doesn't already know. Okay, so I've got my rub-on secured in place. So there's a little bit of tack to the back of the rub-on, which means it's not going to go sliding around. There is a wooden applicator included in the set, or you can use a bone folder to simply burnish this in place. And when I do this, I'm just using firm, even pressure around on the image and also around on the outside edges here. So these little details, the bird's feathers and the foliage. And then from here, what I'm going to do is just gently lift this up, gently and slowly, because if a part of this doesn't transfer, and you can see the tip of that leaf did not transfer, what I can do is simply pop that back in place and come back and burnish it a little bit more. So they're very forgiving. So you do want to be careful with this and not just yank it right off, just in case you need to go back and do a little bit more. So there's my bird in place. And then maybe, let's see, I'm going to take, let's see, this is Sweet Life Moments. I'm going to take this little sentiment that says, "You are so awesome." That's a nice message to give somebody in a card. And I'll pop this down also overlapping a bit. There you go. And so you can add as much or as little on the inside of your card as you want to, but I think it's also a nice way to add in another little bit of your message there too. So 2 cards, very, very similar, but also I think really maximizing those gorgeous pattern papers and the embellishments and how everything comes together. So again, pattern paper backgrounds, focal elements, and then the inside of our card. So I've got another card project that I want to step us through, but before we move on to that, I'm going to show you, here's a third card. I really got going with this collection. I had a lot of fun with it. So here again, we've got basically an identical layout. I've got the tab on the other side. I've got another word sentiment layered up here, another frame, and of course those enamel dots there. But this is a portion of the pattern paper as well. So lots of different options that you can get from one card layout. So if you are new to card making, keep this in mind. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And this is what's really nice about card making too. Okay, so let's move to our second card here, which is also combining some pattern papers. I've got another ephemera frame here, and I've got the sentiment and more of those enamel dots. Now, in this case, what I'm going to do is, instead of covering the front of my card with an entire sheet of pattern paper, I'm going to take the paper and tear it, which may be painful to some folks. I know sometimes people are like, ooh, tear the paper. No, it's too pretty. You can tear the paper and it will still look really nice. So I've got a torn edge here down at the bottom, and I've got some of this absolutely stunning pattern paper. This is another one of my favorites, combined with a portion of brown paper. I know that they will go together because this actually happens to come from the other side there. So I know that they are designed to go together color-wise, style-wise. So I've trimmed down this piece of pattern paper slightly smaller than the front of my card. And I use my paper trimmer for that. That makes it really easy. But if you are handy with a ruler and a pencil, you can absolutely do that. Cut it with scissors too. So from here, what I'm going to do is, first of all, figure that I want to put this piece of brown pattern paper down at the bottom. And from here, I'm going to tear along the bottom edge. Now, I just want a little bit of that brown to show here. So holding my paper, I'm gently and carefully, well, first of all, I'm going to see how much I want showing. Gently and carefully start tearing those two pieces. And what I can do is tear the paper, tear this portion of the paper toward me, sort of walk this along so that I'm getting a nice torn edge that's also fairly even. It's going straight across there. So I'm not just going to pull it and have it go everywhere. I want to have a little bit more control. When I'm tearing this, I'm also exposing the white edge on that pattern paper. I think you can see this. So that's going to create a nice border between those two designs. So kind of like with our matting, with our frame, to have a nice visual separation between those two pattern papers is going to go beautifully together. Okay, so I want to make sure that I've got everything ready to go here. Again, I'm going to take my glue stick, or I would use my tape runner if it hadn't been used up by the other artist in the house, which is my daughter. And who knows, I think that may be where my scissors went to as well. I've got a couple of pairs of scissors because we always seem to be missing a pair of scissors. My husband's always looking around for them. And they often end up being in my daughter's room. So, okay, I'm going to add some more adhesive here. And then position this down in place. Now, because I've trimmed these from the same sheet, I know that they are the same width either side. And that's going to give me a really nice two-toned effect here on the front of my card. So from here, I can go ahead and add my focal element. And the pack that I'm using for this is the ephemera pack. So you can see on here, I've got lots of different elements. I've also got some of these, they look like paint swatches. Maybe if I hold that up, you can see little swatches of paint or ink. Well, each of these has a really cool frame that goes around the outside edge. And these are all die cut, so they pop out really nicely. Have a look, those are so pretty. And the frame is what I'm going to use here. It's like a Polaroid frame. And I'm going to use this to frame a portion of my patterned paper. And I think you can see it's this area right up here at the top. So I've got this beautiful kind of filigree effect. I've got some of the script and the text, and I've got those beautiful florals as well as the butterfly. Now, you may be thinking, this butterfly is not on here, and it's a sticker, and I will show you that in a minute. So this is going to be the area that I want to capture. Now, I could also use this. I could also, go along the side like so. I could also use some of this area here down at the bottom that doesn't have a floral element. So I've got a lot of options, which is really nice. And let's see. I'm going to take my adhesive once again. And this is, again, where utilizing your pattern papers from perhaps your scrapbooking or your other paper crafting hobbies, you can absolutely mix and match between your different crafts that you like to do, which is wonderful. And I think also really helps to kind of keep things within the budget as well, which is nice too. So, okay, I've got my butterfly and my florals and my beautiful filigree part all ready to go in here. Let my glue dry. And from here, I'm also going to be looking at some of the sentiments that I have possibilities. Now, when I'm using my ephemera packs, what I like to do, I've got some little plastic containers I just got at the drugstore. And these are really nice to kind of put everything into so that you can flip through them and have a look at all of the elements that are included in here. And from here, I can kind of pick out which words I want to use and what elements I want to combine together. So on my original card, I've got the thankful for you sentiment, really beautiful scripty sentiment overlapping between the two, the focal and my background here. And then for this card sample, I think I'll use this piece, Amazed by You. Oops, I'll move this up so you can maybe see a little bit better. And this is a wonderful sentiment to have on hand too. So let's go ahead and grab the scissors and trim around here again. And this is another piece that I'm going to pop up with some foam tape. And then I can add it to the front of my card. Charlene says she's always excited to see the new Katie release. It is probably one of my favorite collections. But I always feel like Katie designs exactly what I want without me even having to explain it to anybody. She somehow knows exactly what I love. So I think I'm not the only person who is a big Katie fan. She's got a really beautiful design sense. Okay, I'm going to add in some more foam tape here. And I really do love how all of these collections just go together so beautifully. It really makes it a pleasure to work with. I can say this from a professional standpoint, as well as personally. They're just a lot of fun to use. Okay, pull off my liners here, and then I can position this on the front of my card. And I'll bring in my original card so you can see, I've got this positioned in the center, but I've got some space here for my sentiment. So it's in the center of the card, a little bit up toward the top. Okay, pop this down here, and there we go. And then my sentiment, I've got lots of room here, so I've got a nice place for it. But then again, with that beautiful script, it can hang over the bottom of this area here. So again, I'm crossing between those two different areas. So with the pattern paper and my background paper. I'm going to use a little bit of white glue for this. And here we go. Amazed by you. All right, so now I've got my focal, I've got my sentiment, I've got the beautiful pattern paper, and I really do like that torn edge on there. I think it adds a little bit of softness to the overall design as well, because we've got lots of straight lines. And this is something in card making and scrapbooking too, where you have either a rectangle or a square shape, and you've got lines and lines and lines, boxes and boxes. So sometimes a torn edge or a floral, something that is a little bit curvier or rounder, can help to break up some of those overall lines on there. Now from here, I can leave this as is. I think it's good to go. I can also add some of those enamel dots. And in this case, let's see, maybe I want to do, I really like this kind of butter yellow. I also like this really pretty, kind of a pinky purpley. So I think I'll put that down there. Thelma, I'm doing the rule of uneven numbers again. And I'll put down 3 of the enamel dots. And scoot them along with my finger here and get them lined up. So these could go here where I've put them. You can also put them along the edge. They can go vertically, they can go horizontally, lots of different directions. And then I've got the card front pretty much ready to go. Now, again, I mentioned there's another little butterfly in here, totally optional, but I have to show you this because I was really excited. There's also a sticker book that goes along with this collection. And as you can imagine, they're gorgeous designs. So you've got some sheets that are an acetate. Let's see if I can show you this against something white. So they are clear, which gives you beautiful, beautiful effect. You've also got some that are on kind of like a washy background. Really gorgeous. And so many butterflies, so many floral pieces. There's just a lot in here to play with. I'll pull out this sheet here. And again, you can see the various designs on here. The color is amazing. The color is really rich and vibrant. And I'm going to add, let's see, I'll pull this little butterfly off. And then position her or him, just like so. I like that it gives another little touch of texture on there too. Really beautiful and super easy to add in there as well. But again, totally optional. You could leave that area empty. So for the inside of my card, now on this card, I've got a large floral sticker. You can see the shine on there, and then another sentiment. So let's have a look here on the sticker sheet. I do like this yellow one. I think that's really pretty. So I'm gonna grab this one and then just add it to the inside of my card. So let's pop this right down here. I'm going to start with the largest area and then get some of the narrower detailed portions down there. And let me see. I'm going to look inside my little tub of options here. And okay, I've got one that says just so amazing. So we're telling someone that they are amazing, and we'll just reiterate that point here. And I do really like this, how you've got a lot of coordinating sentiments in the collection as well, which does make it nice if you're doing either a maybe a folio or a mini book or a small album for someone, or of course the cards with the inside and the outside decorated. So again, two different versions using the same supplies. Really easy to take a layout idea and copy it, and switch between the different pattern papers and the embellishments. So something like this is really easy to use as a sketch to create cards for lots of different occasions. There are also layouts too, and I'll bring in this card design as well. These can be used, the layouts can be used for birthday cards, sympathy cards, wedding cards. I mean, to have a focal patterned paper and then perhaps something to embellish the inside really does give you lots and lots of different options for any theme of card making. So if you are new to card making and this was maybe your first exposure to it, hopefully it wasn't too overwhelming. And for those of you who are already card makers, scrapbookers, paper crafters, I hope you found some additional inspiration in here too. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Luann. Thank you, Thelma, everybody, for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And we will be coming back to you again in 2 weeks' time. We'll have another live video for you featuring some other really fun supplies. And for those of you who love Katie's work, you'll be very happy. I think Fiona also mentioned in the comments that there is more to come. I've seen it. It is absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait to share that with you and some project ideas as well. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us today. And I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. I wish you all a fabulous weekend, and I hope you have a chance to get some paper crafting, card making, or scrapbooking time in there as well. Thank you so much, Fiona, for being our backstage manager and popping in all of the different links for our various gorgeous products that we're working with today. Okay, everybody, do take care, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye.